Hello, hello. You're with Anne and Nick. If I can find Nick. Nick, are you there? Let's see if we can. Oh, he is there. Hello, hello.
Oh, sorry, I was a bit delayed. I was finding a slice of lemon.
Yeah, me too. How are you, my dear?
Very well, thank you. Self-isolating and all that sort of stuff.
Me too.
Weird time.
It's a very, very strange time, and the news gets worse, and you feel so weird being isolated from it. But it's like we said last time, it's the best we can do, isn't it?
Yeah, and it makes you reflect, doesn't it, on things, happy times and things that you hold dear and things that are important to you, and changes your values, your perspective, should I say. Yeah. So it's really nice for us to be chatting and remembering some of the things we've done over the last 41 years.
I mean, some of the things people have been very kindly saying on Twitter and stuff has been lovely, but sort of reminding us that we have known each other one heck of a long time.
Yeah, about 1979, I think. I joined ATV in 1978. You joined in 79, didn't you?
That's right, yeah. Do you remember when we first
met? No, do you?
You were in the sports newsroom and I was in the newsroom. And I remember just thinking everybody in the sports room was a bit weird anyway.
Yeah, geeks.
Yeah. Very much so. But then we were very lucky because we both ended up sort of reading. You were doing the sport and you were doing the news at the same desk in Studio 3 in ATV.
Where they also did things like Bullseye.
Oh my good, and Crossroads.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so so we're sort of thrown together, and then we were properly thrown together as a new pairing, weren't we? A couple of presenters back in about 1981, I should think. And after that, in various guises, we've done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds into four figures programs together.
I've been spending the last few days trying to sort out all my photographs, and I've got shoe boxes under the bed, boxes in the attic, everything. And I dug up a really old one of us from ATV days. You look how young we are. I don't know if we can find it to show. There we are. And they thought, we were the sort of bright young couple that they would get to read the local news. And we both look about 20.
We probably were.
We don't look as though we're old enough to know what news is. Look.
Oh, look there. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Now on the screen.
Yeah.
Wow. What are you wearing? What on earth are you wearing? You look like you've just come off the shift nursing or something.
Darling, that was a shirt dress.
Oh, right, shirt.
Yeah. But look at your hair if you want to get critical.
Yeah, a lot of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Couldn't do that now.
Those were the days, eh?
Yeah, great days. And who else did we meet at that time?
Well, I know, and that's why we're doing this sort of special, because everybody's talking about him at the moment.
One gentleman called Chris Tarrant, who I hope we can talk to now. My goodness, he's hot at the moment.
Yeah.
Oh,
Chris,
there he is. For a second.
You've come up at a funny angle on my screen.
Well, yes. Well, as long as you're okay talking sideways.
Yeah.
Around.
There you go.
Around, man.
Well, hang on a second. Well, I've come up upright.
No, you're not. Believe me, you're not. Turn it up.
Well, I know. What? Well, hang on a second. Oh, and
how many drinks have you had? Oh, there you are.
Well, I'm sorry to leave the rickety, but it's rather nice seeing you the right way up.
It's so silly. Yeah. Are we all in our
How are you?
Where are we all?
Don't know. We're all sitting in our living rooms, drinking too much, probably.
Are you in your crazy bedsheet, Nick? Where are you now?
I'm in my mansion in South Staffordshire.
Oh, yes, of course you are.
Mansion's a bit strong. 2 up, 2 down, mate.
Well, we can all talk to each other and we sort of get views of each other at funny angles. But
oh, yeah. As the night goes on, the angles will get funnier.
This is quite clever, though, isn't it? I'm quite impressed.
Yeah. Chris, before we go any further, can I just check on your health, bearing in mind you had a terrible time 2 or 3 years ago? Are you okay?
Yeah, no, I'm okay. I'm good. I am one of the, what was it? The undesirables. I'm vulnerable.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. I am basically aged and vulnerable because I had a scare a few years ago and all that. So, yeah, I'm frightened of it. I mean, I'm terrified of the whole thing. But, you know, I live in the middle of absolutely nowhere. I'm doing all my rubber gloves and all the sprays and all that. But can you believe when I had my food arrive this morning, we get it all out on the table, Jen, get it all out, and we're spraying bleach and stuff. And this is the new norm. It's weird.
Yeah. These are very strange times. We've got to be grateful that we are fit and well. So many people are going through a shocking time.
Yeah.
So grateful for that.
Also, I mean, and they keep sort of trying to pin ministers down, going, well, when will it all end? Well, they don't know any more than we will. And like, you know, oh, let's release the lockdown as they're doing in Italy or Spain, I think now. I find that very scary, because surely if you let, you know, everybody out and open all the pubs, it's all going to spike up again, isn't it? I don't know.
Yeah. And these are unprecedented times, aren't they? No one can know exactly.
Horrible. Yep. And nothing in our lifetime, nothing in my parents' lifetime. My dad did all the stuff, 39 to 45. It's nothing like that, because at least Dad could see the enemy.
Exactly. Yeah, couldn't agree more. Chris, let's just talk back.
About surfaces. I don't like the thing about, you know, I'm fine with not getting close to other people and all that, and most people don't want to get anywhere near me anyway. But no, but the surfaces thing is really like, I don't like. It's horrible.
It's a horrible time. Chris, we must talk about the first time we met in those early days, the late 1970s at ATV.
Oh, you were working as a rent boy.
Yeah. That was our secret. But you used to cut a swathe through the newsroom, because you sort of came bombastically through. You were quite a figure even in those days.
How do you mean bombastic? What sort of loud?
Well, you were loud and bumped into everything, and you were bruising.
Yeah, there was that.
You were a big personality.
Great big bruiser.
Yeah, okay.
We're not criticising. It was wonderful. One of the things that
Excuse me, Anne, and I love you dearly. From Nick Owen, it sounded like a hint of, you know, unkindness I felt. You know, there was no feeling of warmth and love here. I felt there was no love in the room. You were big, bombastic and belligerent. Yeah, okay, fair play.
And you were a reporter, as we were, but you
we all were.
You usually covered the silly stories, I seem to remember.
No, actually, I didn't. Initially, I was doing all the sort of hard stuff, and I used to go to places like, you know, Longbridge Motors and all that, and really heavy stuff. And I know this, both of you find this difficult to imagine. I was useless. I wanted to be like every ITN reporter. This is Chris Tarrant from I was pathetic. And they I honestly thought they were going to let me go quite early. They should have done probably. But they one day sent me out to interview a man he was walking from Worcester to Evesham, a distance of 13 miles, with 4 ferrets down his trousers. And I thought, I am now in my personal TV home. And unfortunately, my dad, bless him, and my mum, who knew I was on the telly in the Midlands but couldn't get it living down in Berkshire, where I am now, they chose that night to go to stay in a hotel in Woodstock, which was in the ATV area, and watch their son, new hard news reporter, on the telly. And that was the night they watched it. It's like, whoa.
So
it was a fine item. And after about, I think 2 miles, he had double pairs of pants on, this bloke. And after 2 miles, one of them bit him in a difficult area. So he had another 11 miles to do. And the other 3 ferrets and him really joined in the feast. And also his wife was walking along the pavement going, he seems to be in a lot of pain, or I'm not surprised. And I felt I'm happy now. I'm sort of relaxed. So after that, I did all the upside down beer drinkers and the man who swallowed goldfish. Oh, and I was happy then.
Yeah. And then, of course, you went on to do Was in the same studio, funnily enough. It was wonderful, wonderful Was.
And then Saturday night, they were frantically cleaning it for the news on the Monday morning.
Yeah. It took them.
Chris, can you see we're showing a picture at the moment of you and John Gorman and Sally James?
Oh, yeah.
John Gorman. John Gorman is one of the oddest men. I mean, I love the man. One of the oddest men I've ever met. And when we were doing, I don't know, various stuff years later, we'd be walking back from some studio late at night, and he would lean over. You know, he was a dreadful man. He would lean over the homeless sleeping in doorways and go, "Hello, mate. Hello, Mr. Tarrant. Your son's doing well," and would run off. We were chased up the road by people and like, oh, God.
They were mad days.
He's still around. John Gorman is now drinking only tea.
Oh,
yeah. I did a thing with him last year and he drank only tea. Still fun though. Funny man, mad. But he was in the scaffold. I mean, he talked to me about, oh yeah, when we were in Madison Square Garden. I'm going, oh, come on, John. He said, no, they did. The scaffold did Madison Square Garden, all that stuff. They were huge band.
But absolutely. You used to get major pop stars queuing up to go into the cage to have water flung at them. I mean, how crazy was it?
It was just the best fun around. You know, they could have a really dull morning with Noel Edmonds and Keith Chegwin, or they could make the trip to Birmingham and just have a hoot. And they're all young lads, bands, you know, whatever. We had everybody. I mean, literally, Queen, Quo, The Who, The Beatles, everybody did Tiswas. Yeah. Wonderful days. I remember spending a morning rolling about in custard with Sheena Easton and Annie Lennox, thinking, I'm being paid for this. And I just remember it being one of the best mornings of my life.
And then Chris moving on, after that, various other things happened. We sort of were reunited again, weren't we, at breakfast television at TVAM?
Well, you two were. You were sort of going at the hip. Yeah, well, I was out at the sharp end, wasn't I? You in the studio with all your makeup and all your bits and pieces, your finest. I was doing these beaches in Rill and Great Yarmouth and places. Yeah, I must admit. I mean, Tiswas was splendid, but they were amazing days because that company was going bump any second, wasn't it? Yeah. And us lot somehow, I don't know whether we were responsible for steering it through. They always say roll and rat. Yeah. Save the state. Yeah, I always think that's rather unkind of you guys and me and everybody else, but it's a good headline. It was an extraordinary period of all our lives. Wonderful day. Yeah. Wonderful.
Something I particularly remember, Chris, was the first day on the beach. I think it was Blackpool. In the early days when people didn't think many people were watching telly, we cut to you on the beach, having trailed that you were going to be on the beach at Blackpool. And there were 6,000 people actually on the sands at 6:55 in the morning. We thought, wow, people are watching this and it's catching on. It's one of the big early signs that the programme was working.
Also, even the fact that the outside broadcast van that I think they kind of nicked and never paid for. I mean, it was all like that, wasn't it? But the thing itself was working. I mean, I remember Greg Dyke going, oh, blimey, we got pictures. You know, I mean, it was an extraordinary adventure. It was wonderful. And we'd come from the, you know, it has to be said, the fairly tough days of really heavy union stuff and whatever. And suddenly TVAM was like, nobody's going to query anything about, you know, who's holding what bucket or what lad or whatever, because if there was any hint of any problems, it would just go bust anyway. And it was a great time that everybody joined in and made great programs.
Yeah, something I also remember, Chris, and you've already referred to ferrets. You stuck a ferret down your trousers, didn't you, on the beach, one of the beaches?
Well, yes, I did. He ran out. No, but he ran out waving a white flag.
But I thought for many weeks after,
which I never really understood.
Still there.
What?
I said I thought for many weeks afterwards that ferret was still there.
No, that's my posing pose.
Stop it.
And thank goodness you're here to keep the whole level at rather a lovely, friendly, family sort of broadcast.
That was always my job.
And I respect you for that. I know.
Yes, you would have to
we know all about you. To the viewers, you are, you know, you are. I love you.
Absolutely.
Anyway, look, Chris, should we come bang up to date with the quiz?
Yes.
Oh,
quiz. What do you think?
What do you mean? What do I think? I saw the tapes a few months ago, but I don't know. Ask me a question, because you're going to say things like, "Is Michael Sheen close to me?" and all. I mean,
yeah, is he?
I have done so many. What do you think about Michael Sheen being me?
I think he does a very good job.
He does a brilliant job on you.
Yeah.
Really. But he is so weird. Look,
I know. Well, my son rang me. My son rang me on the first night. I said, "Dad, I'm watching you and I'm talking to you." And he said, "This is unreal." I think his voice is pretty. You know this stuff, both of you guys. When you're on radio with headphones on, you actually know what you sound like. Most people don't know what they sound like at all. You play a tape to someone, they go, "Oh, I don't sound like that," and you think, "I'm sorry, you actually do." We know, and you do a load of radio, I do a load. We know what we sound like, but so his voice is pretty close. And he doesn't do all that, oh, Chris Tarrant here, oh, gee. All this, for some reason, Rory Bremner, Mike Osmond, you know, John Koshak, they go, ah, gee. My son on the radio goes, hello, Dad here, gee. I've never gone, gee. Why would I go, gee? I don't do that. And he doesn't do that. But the voice is good. What he's brilliant at, and it's quite weird to watch, and I have watched it a lot, is sort of body language he does of me.
Because it's the way he shifts in the chair.
I know. And I sit watching.
You're always shifting around in that chair.
I know. Well, I am, and I'm a fidget anyway, and it's a very uncomfortable chair, but also weird things.
Looks it.
Yeah, with fingers and points, and there's something I do with my leg when I'm standing, like a sort of demented duck. I don't know what I'm doing. But I saw it the other night, and I'm thinking, oh, God, I really do that. It's like, he is brilliant. But I mean, I loved his Clough, his Frost. I'm really flattered that he's doing it. I mean, it's splendid. I met him. We were doing the Pride of Britain last year, and we're on the red carpet bit. And I just knew he was doing. I'd never met him before, and I knew he was doing this program. And I said to Jane, my missus, I said, "Oh, there's Michael Sheen. Let's go and say hello." She said, "Well, you don't know him." I said, "Just go and say hello. I know what he's up to." And I tapped him on the shoulder. Now, bear in mind, this guy has been staring at funny little DVD tapes of me for weeks and weeks and weeks. And I tapped him on the shoulder. He went, "Whoa!" And he sort of jumped because suddenly this great big 6'2" thing is slapping you on the back, going, "Hello, mate. How are you?" And he's like, "Oh, it's like your goldfish getting out the bowl and being 6 foot or whatever." And it was quite surreal. And we were going to do loads of things this year, meeting up and chatting and bits of telly and stuff. Sadly, now with the whole lockdown, nothing is happening. But he is very, very. He is very good. I have no problem with what he does. I mean, I'm flattered. I'm really flattered by him doing it.
Well, what about the actual night or the 2 nights, wasn't it, when all this was going on, allegedly? You weren't
allegedly
aware, were you?
No, not at all. I've always said that. I've always said on the night I had no idea. I didn't. I mean, it's kind of like an amphitheatre down there anyway. And I did, I don't know, 700 shows or 680, whatever. But that one show, the audience were screaming, they were yelling, they were coughing, they were gasping, they were applauding. I mean, it was because you kept going, "Oh, I don't know. Oh, I've never heard of Craig David. Oh, I don't know. Oh, Craig David." I mean, and I have no earpiece. I don't want an earpiece. I hate earpieces. And I'm trying to focus on this guy, like, where are we now? Have you just turned down 500,000? The he's an army major. He's on, I don't know, 30 odd grand with a rented accommodation, whatever. The guy's turning down 500,000 pounds and all this stuff. And I'm going, hang on, was that? So I am so focused. No, of course I didn't. Of course I didn't hear anybody coughing or whatever. But I have since then, because of the trial 2 years later, the famous trial, I spent hours and hours and hours of my life watching, various tapes and coughs and whatever with the fraud squad. And I'm going, I can't believe I didn't spot that. I am totally convinced, and nothing will change my mind. He is guilty as anything. No question. But I wasn't at the time, and we're all pros. You wouldn't have spotted it. I wouldn't have spotted it.
No, I mean, something that Nick found very shocking is to discover. Did you know at the time there were these
the syndicate people? Yeah, the syndicate. I know, and one figure I saw quoted in the Times. They took away £5 million over 8 years or whatever. We were kind of aware of them. We didn't really know the extent to which they were, as busy as they were. The problem is, I don't think they were cheating. They were bending the system. They were playing I used to be in a horse racing syndicate. We weren't cheating. We just got all the odds and the this and the that. And, the going last time out, how much weight it's carrying, all this stuff. They were so focused into it. I don't think, I may be wrong, but I don't think they were cheating. I just think they were really bucking the system. I don't think the major was part of that syndicate. I think he's separate. He's on his own little world.
But
Do you?
a story that we're finding fascinating, isn't it?
I know. I'm not sure. Listen, guys, I don't know. I'm not sure. The
Well, they
suggestion
are
the
saying
program is that he might have been. I don't think
they?
he was. I think the brother might have been. I don't know.
Eh,
It's 20. Nick, it is 20 years ago.
No,
Yeah,
that's astonishing. in
I
itself.
know.
But there is that. I mean, I saw a thing today that, I saw Eamon talking this morning about they're thinking about appealing. It's
Yeah.
19 and a half years. So how's that going to work? I can't see, there won't be any new evidence. Half the people involved probably died. I can't see an appeal. I think it's just a PR thing saying, and of course they're considering an appeal. I think, yeah, because consider
Chris, what do you think of the Ingrams themselves now?
Yeah, that's
I've never met them socially. They're not on my Christmas card list.
no. I mean, it's funny because in the program they show you, and I can understand this. The program is your baby. You're actually quoted as saying that, and so you feel mortally offended that somebody is sort of trying to cheat your baby.
Yes, very much. Because we just wanted honest, decent people to come on, play the game and win as much money as they possibly could fairly. And that's it. But we were very naive. I mean, we used to say things like, all switch off your mobile phones.
Yeah.
But nobody went around saying, actually, can we check because if you got your phone on in the pocket or various parts of the audience and a sort of overspill VIP area, anybody, anywhere, you can sit in your home, 1,000 miles away in Cradley, Nick, and you can hear exactly what I'm asking. And if you then take a long time to answer, which he always did, so it could be, I don't know, well, it could be Berlin, or it might be Oslo, it could be Swindon, it could be Paris. If you take as long as that, anybody on the other end of that phone can go, okay, we've got loads of time, let's check it out. With search engines, you can find anything in 30 seconds. But they had encyclopedias and all this stuff. Yeah, I still don't know what was done, but like Paul Smith, I'm convinced, Paul Smith, the boss of seller of the whole thing, I'm convinced, something was done that was not, not decent and wicked, basically.
Having said all that, Chris, it is probably the greatest.
Oh, you've frozen on me, Nick.
Show.
Say
it's
it.
quite nice.
Would you say that?
Yeah,
I like it when
did you hear that?
You froze for a second. We didn't hear your question. What did you say?
Nick, I was just saying, having said all that, a lot of people would probably say, I'm going to say, having said all this, people would probably say it's the greatest game show of all time.
Oh, no question. I mean, we sold it 120. We sold it to 120 countries around the world. So, yeah, it was huge. I mean, you almost forget now, because it's been a while, you almost forget how huge it was. And when it came on, it just blew through the roof of, ratings. And we sold it to America and Australia. Everybody took it. Every country that Millionaire's gone to, it's always gone to number one in their ratings. It might be a week, it might be a month, it might be a year, whatever. It is an amazing vehicle. I mean, it's an unbelievable program, and it just works.
Yes, at the very beginning, sort of see how they were not about it.
Well, I'll tell you a weird thing. The morning after, the first ever show, and I'm walking from my dressing room. I didn't do the radio. I sort of went back to the studios and had a kip. And when I walked back up to the hotel, up the top in Wembley, whatever, I'm walking up the road, and a bloke winds his lorry window down. Now, bear in mind, only one show has ever gone out the night before. Winds his window down and goes, "Hey, Chrissy, phone a friend." Now, that is surreal.
Actually, Chris, did you say yes?
That is surreal.
Chris, when you were offered the show, did you say yes straight away, or did you have any misgivings? Might you not have done it?
Say it to me again. Sorry, Anne, say it to me again.
When you were offered the show, did you ever think of saying no, or did you say yes straight away? Just wondering.
No,
somebody else.
Yeah, I foolishly, because David Briggs was my producer on the radio, and then he became, we are kind of joined at the hip. And he actually said to me, it sounds bizarre now, he said to me, we got this new show based on a thing we did on radio called Double or Quits, and it's sort of on that. Basically, it was that turned into a TV format. And he rang me up, and he was, Briggs had left radio for about a year. And it's weird to think now, because he's one of the richest men on the planet, But he kind of said, I've got this thing. It's a sort of pilot of Double or Quits. Will you do a pilot? And I went, yeah, all right, I'll do a pilot. I was the only person that David knew on the telly, apart from Kenny Everett, who, bless him, was completely mad. So, and I sort of said to him, I'll do you a pilot so you've got something to show to the network. But I don't want to do a series. I'm too busy. I mean, hello. I mean, that would have been the stupidest decision. It changed my life. It changed everyone's life. But also the previous controller of ITV, before David Lindemann came in, famously said, no, I don't think so. I can't see any future in this one. I mean, he's like the man who turned down the Beatles. Yeah. I see him about, I won't mention his name, but everybody knows him. Yeah. I see him about twice a year. They go, hello, mate, turn down any more monster success. He goes, oh, leave me alone, leave me alone.
Well,
he can see it, you know.
Chris, I've got an interesting question that's just been texted in. If the money had been paid over, would Chris Tarrant have gone bankrupt?
No.
No, right. It wasn't your money.
Of course, it wasn't my money.
And who owns Millionaire? And how much is it earn? Does it earn now? It's still going?
I don't know. How do I know? I don't know. I left it 5 years ago. I haven't a clue. It was owned. I mean, the glory days were the company called Celador. Paul Smith was the owner of Celador. Paul Smith, we probably saw it on the show. Paul Smith put his house against it. I mean, it was a massive gamble. It seems bizarre now, like everything else, but it was a big old gamble for him. It wasn't a big gamble for me. It was like, it was a nice show. But I must admit, when I'd done a couple of pilots, I thought, this is quite, well, yeah. I had no idea that, you know, because they turned it round. I think we did the second pilot in about July. I had a family holiday book, which I did. And then it was almost straight on. And it was on every night for 10 days. They said, I think in the show 7 days, it was on for 10 days. And it just went ridiculously through the roof. And then they couldn't get enough of them. And then, you know, the Americans came in, the Australians came in, whatever. It was a monster. And I was asked to do the American one. And I mean, I would be a very, 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 very wealthy man. But you think, I didn't want my kids to grow up in New York. And I really didn't fancy it. I didn't fancy doing it in America at all. And I still, you know, when you do things in life, you turn things down. Sometimes you go, oh my God, I've never thought for a second, I wish I had said yes. Not a second. No. I would have hated it. It's a very simple show. There's two people in the middle of an audience. America, they had like so many people running about with clipboards, shouting, and you think, what? Why are you making it so complicated? I did want to do the Australian one because I was doing Capital Radio at the time, which I loved, and I had a fantastic time. But I went to see my boss at Capital. I said, look, I really would. Michael Parkinson did this thing where he used to do 6 months in Oz and 6 months back. Yeah. Yeah, and I thought that would be really cool. And, you know, my kids could have floated around and, you know, it would have been good. But, I mean, and Capital said to me, and they were actually very, very good with me, Capital. They were great. And he said, look, I can give you a couple of weeks off. He said, but how long do you need? And I said, they want 8 weeks. He said, I can't give you 8 weeks off the register. No way, you know. So, whatever. I never really looked back and thought, what a shame. That one, I would have liked to have done it. But, you know, I love the radio in London. I enjoyed that. So, you don't do so many things.
So, Chris, will you be watching the final episode tonight?
I've seen it on tape. I probably will. I mean, Jane, my missus, wants to watch it. Now, I know you're talking, I think, later to the writer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Ask him this. He and I email a lot. He knows exactly what I think. I know exactly what he thinks. There is a sort of a trend towards suggesting that the Major might have been hard done by, that is an innocent lamb to the ITV slaughter, the police slaughter, whatever. And he's fine. I mean, it is very well made. It is very well acted. It is very well shot. And it's very well written. But ask him why they did not include the prosecution sum up in the final episode, because they do a brilliant defense QC sum up by that Helen lady who's very, very good, very well acted. She does a brilliant sum up. There is, in all courts of law in this country, I think in the world, They do a defence and then a prosecution. There is no prosecution sum up at all. There was no prosecution sum up in the stage play either. So you go straight from her to a few seconds of the judge going, oh, well, it's all rather difficult, and over the jury. And the jury then go guilty, guilty, guilty. There's no prosecution sum up. And also, they don't mention the fact at all, and I think it's relevant, that before Millionaire happened, before he was, won his £1 million and it all went upside down and all that, he had already been arrested and charged and eventually found guilty with an insurance scam where he tried to get lots of money illegally and was found guilty from Direct Line.
Yeah.
Now, that is a fact. This is not the behaviour of a normal, standard, good old British Army major. My dad was a British Army major from 1939 to 1945. He would not have behaved like that. Just ask James.
Okay.
See what he says.
Yeah,
He's a very nice man. He's a good guy. And
yeah, looking forward to talking about Chris.
But ask him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Chris, it's been great to talk to you. Thanks for coming on.
It's been better than great.
Oh, it's been lovely.
It's been the best fun.
Monumental.
Look after yourself and keep disinfecting your food. Like we all have to.
I know.
Give our love to Jane.
You get a really nice bit of food and you spray it with bleach. So when we finally emerge from lockdown and we go out for a nice meal in a restaurant, do you think we're going to spray our food with bleach?
Definitely.
I think we probably will.
Yeah.
Bless you guys. Lovely to see you. Take care.
Right,
Yeah.
Lovely to
Stay
see you.
safe.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Stay safe. Yeah,
Absolutely.
stay safe and stay at home. Lord of the Manor he is. How lovely to see him.
It was great, wasn't it, to catch up with him? And he's bouncing, isn't he? Ebullient, effervescent. Can't think of a time when he ever wasn't, to be honest.
Oh, very nice. Well done.
No, he's a great lad, and he's had a phenomenal career, really. He's done so many different things. He's still doing documentaries now. He's well into his 70s, and he's traveling Europe on trains and things like that.
I know.
And in fact, he could have been doing a train now, heading towards China. That's been
absolutely.
phone.
But
So, it's lovely to talk to him.
it's amazing because his career, I remember, because we've been sort of rolling alongside almost. And, he finishes one project and you think, oh, Chris has gone quiet. Suddenly comes an enormous new thing because his brain is always buzzing with new ideas, I think.
Yeah. Hold it. I just want to ask Vicky to get me another gin and tonic.
Well, I'm glad you've got a Vicky. I'm looking around for my Connor and he is.
Would you?
Yeah.
Thank you, dear.
Oh, he's here. Great.
So I think we've got another guest coming up. Anne,
Oh, sorry. Yes.
attention,
Yes,
please.
we
have another guest coming up.
Yes. No. I heard you first time. Absolutely.
Good. Just checking.
Well, here's as Chris was saying, he is the oh, hang on a minute. Here's my Diet Coke. Thank you.
Yeah.
He is the writer of the episode that of all of the episodes, but that we're all waiting to hear because it's one of those unique must sit in your chair and watch ITV moments, isn't it?
Even though you sort of know what happens.
Yes, that's right. And he is James Graham, who's the writer. So I think we can get him up and talk to him now. James.
Hello.
How lovely to see you.
So lovely to see you. I'm thrilled. I can't believe you're interviewing me. This is like a childhood dream come true.
Oh, don't. You're making me feel very old.
Oh,
Very much. But we're all waiting to see the final episode tonight. And I just want to say congratulations because it's got everybody hooked.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we're so surprised and relieved. It's I've been fascinated by this story for years, almost 19 years since it originally came out in the press. And so, it's a huge relief to know that people, especially given the horrible context in which we're broadcasting this show, and people are obviously stuck at home and wanting some distraction and light relief. So, no, it feels like a real privilege to be able to give.
And how easy was it to get cooperation from people? Because clearly you did get a lot of people helping you who were main participants, weren't they?
Yeah, it took a while. Well, you would know as journalists that it's sometimes you have to win people's trust. But because it started as a stage play, we got to run that in the West End for a couple of months, and a lot of real life characters came and visited us then and saw the play. So they kept feeding in. So when I started writing it as a TV drama, we had assembled a lot of the real life people, from Paul Smith, who created the show. I know Chris came to see the show. People in this shadowy syndicate came to see the show, which was really fascinating to me.
This is what absolutely staggers us, the whole syndicate thing. I had no idea all that was going on behind the scenes. I mean, so did you know about that, or did they come to you and suddenly tell you this stuff? You think, wow, really?
it was a mixture. So there's actually a book that was published about 4 years ago called Bad Show by Bob Buffington and James Plaskett. And they were the first people to start to reinterrogate this story and people's assumptions, black and white assumptions about the Ingrams' guilt, bringing some new evidence to light and just asking the question, is it quite as cut and dry as people think? And they were the first people to find some members of the syndicate and bring them to my attention. But joyfully, it's a funny thing when you're writing a TV story about a real life event, and the writing of that changes the telling of it. So because Paul Smith, who's played by Mark Bonner in the show, a wonderful actor, Paul Smith came to see the show and the play in the theatre, and it reawakened his interest in the story. So when we started making the TV drama, he started going on as a private investigator. He started researching it again himself, and he reached out to some members of the syndicate, including Paddy Spooner, who's a character we shown, and sort of said, look, I know you're my arch nemesis. I know we've been rivals. You broke into my show, but all is forgiven. I just need to meet you, and I need you to tell me how successful that you were. And so in tonight's episode, we dramatized that scene where the two meet, and Paddy Spooner tells him quite how successfully his organization.
As you said, you're sort of affecting the story even now, aren't you? And also we hear rumours in the press anyway that the Ingrams are thinking of appealing all these years later, because there's a renewed interest in their whole story.
That's true, and they've been, they've maintained their innocence all the way through, and the producers sincerely still believe, as you heard from Chris, they still sincerely believe that they're guilty. The verdict, as it stands, is that they did.
Do you have a bit of an agenda yourself in writing this? Are you trying to prove that you think they were innocent or anything like that?
No, it's a fair question, but I think the best drama, to quote some Who Wants to Be a Millionaire cliches, I think we should ask the audience what they think. And never the question for. I just think it's there is that kind of work. You'll have seen those kinds of plays that are more activist and they come down on one side or the other. But the stuff I prefer writing just lays out the question for the audience and then asks them to make their mind up.
What about Chris' question there? Yeah, I don't know if you were listening, but when Chris said, ask James about why he didn't show the prosecution sum up.
Sure. Yeah. So if you watch the episode tonight, we have this extraordinary actress, Helen McCrory, who I will admit does a very impressive job as the defence. I would want her to defend me if ever I found myself in court. So what I think the reason why we did that is because the whole of the first two episodes, if you saw them, is basically the case for the prosecution. It's the story with all of the evidence that the majority of the audience already sort of know. And I would imagine the majority of the audience at the moment still think they did it based on the evidence. Yeah. And then in tonight's episode, it gets very meta. It's an ITV courtroom drama about an ITV courtroom drama. The prosecution lawyer makes the case and interviews the witness, but he's right. We do then end on what I think is the new story, the thing that will surprise an audience, which is the list of evidence that is more in the Ingram's defence. So I take Chris's point, but I think the majority of the
he thinks it's going to leave people thinking, oh, they are innocent.
But I mean, I think it would certainly make people will be very surprised, I think, by some of the inconsistencies or some of the holes in the narrative around this coughing. I'm not saying it's not true or that they didn't do it that way, but I just remember I don't know if you remember it clearly, but I remember the reporting of it at the time, and then this incredible Martin Bashir documentary that came out and got about 18 million viewers. It felt very clear cut, and that basically these people are idiots, and they were figures of fun who were very stupid to try and cheat in this way. And I don't think it's as black and white as that. I think it is a bit more confusing and a slightly grey area in some of the evidence. They may well have done it, and that is the verdict at the end of the drama. So we'll see.
So you want to leave the audience at the end of this still sort of a little uncertain you want to have arguments in people's front rooms, don't you, after it, where some people think for and some against.
Yes, I hope so. That would be really fascinating. We know from the theatre show that people walked out and they were arguing in the street about
arguing all the way home. Yeah. Absolutely.
Have you got your sights set on any other game shows or quizzes?
Oh well, it's been great watching social media and people being really interested in game shows and classic British game shows based on from the drama. The people have been suggesting that we need to go and go back to the shocking blind date scandal. Do you remember that when a journalist posed as a contestant?
Oh yeah, they had quite a few of those, I think, didn't they?
Oh, really? Oh, okay. And
people always try and get into a live show, I think, don't they?
Yeah.
And we thought, because we know you love a true story, don't you? I mean, when you did Brexit, the what was it called? Brexit,
the Uncivil War.
Yeah, the Benedict Cumberbatch and everything. I mean, you love a true story, and then I don't know. I suppose showing up bits and pieces of the true story that we didn't know. Nick and I think you should look at the early days of TVAM.
Well, I would love to do that. I mean, I wasn't kidding when I said I really love that show, and I think you know it's been amazing doing quiz. I think it reminded people when event television what really impacted on the national conversation and the national discourse. And it's interesting that we're feeling a bit of that moment again now when we're all in lockdown and we're all returning to linear television to watch the same thing at the same time with our families. So I think the culture of breakfast television is completely fascinating. And
well, the first few weeks there was blood on the walls, as they say.
Unbelievable. Every day you went to work not knowing if the place would survive.
Yeah.
It was really stressful. And yet it ended up being, I'm told, the most successful television station in the world financially.
Yeah.
Yes, at one stage it was on the verge of collapsing any time. We had so few viewers, you could ring round and tell them if you were changing the running order. You know, it's a bit like that.
Yeah, and there was one morning that Nick and I were actually broadcasting on air, and the electricity board came round to cut us off, didn't they?
Yeah, we got a warning in our ears, didn't we? And Greg Dyke paid the bill.
Greg Dyke had to actually pay with his own money to get them to go.
That's excellent. Well, there you go. That's the first scene of the TV drama.
Oh my goodness! No, there was far worse than that we couldn't say out loud even here at the moment.
But if you are going to do it, can you contact Brad Pitt for my part, please?
He's already contacted my agent, and he's desperately keen to.
Can I ask you that? How were you anything? I mean, you are the writer, as it were. How involved do you get in the actual production? And what about the casting? Who cast it? Because it was brilliant.
Yes, well, Stephen Free is the amazing filmmaker. He brought his people in, and it's the same people who cast. Did you see the very English Scandal, the Hugh Grant, Jeremy Thorpe John?
Yes, certainly did. Yes.
Stole most of that team, so we have the same editor, the same casting director. To be honest, I really like to hand that stuff over. I think when you're writing, when you're writing a script, it's not like writing a novel. You have to make it collaboratively with loads and loads of people. And I'm a big believer in handing over creative decisions to others to make that. So I let them get on with it. But of course, when they said the words Michael and Sheen, I said, well, that would be insane. But he won't do it. He won't want to play. He plays prime ministers. Will he want to play? I think it was going to be a great role in Chris Tarrant. And for whatever reason, he said he would, which is fabulous. And Matthew McFadden and Sean Clifford as the Ingrams. I can see why. I can see why Chris might be frustrated that they're coming across so likably and nice, because they're such charming actors. You can't help but like them, and I think slightly root for them in a strange kind of way.
So what are you working on at the moment?
I'm doing this is something very, very glamorous. I'm about to drop some names. I'm sorry. I'm writing a musical with Elton John at the moment.
Oh, for heaven's sake!
I'm sorry. That's such a clanger.
That name, why don't you?
How good is that?
It's so fascinating. I haven't really done a proper musical from scratch before, and obviously he's done quite a few successful ones from the line. Yeah. And we were meant to be working together a couple of weekends ago, and obviously we can't now. But that's what we have to do, and we all do it. So we've had a couple of Skype sessions. I'm not sure if any of the great 20th century musicals were written via Skype or FaceTime, but we're gonna see.
It's a challenge. So it's totally new. It's not telling the Rocket Man story all over again. It's totally different.
No, so it won't be a biography about Elton. It's going to be a new story, and he's writing the songs, and I'm writing the book. So it's actually a story about televangelism in the 1980s.
Oh, wow.
And you also wrote episodes of The Crown, did you not?
I did. I wrote one in the last series. Yes, it was the episode. I don't know if you saw the whole series with Prince Charles having to go to learn Welsh. Before he looked at Carnarvon Castle as the Prince of Wales. That was great. I mean, that's Peter Morgan, who writes the majority of that series. He was an idol for me when I first started writing, because he, of course, you remember he did The Deal about Tony Blair, and the original the Queen film, and he sort of set he really embedded in popular culture this idea that you can take quite recent history and political history and make it accessible mainstream popular drama. So I've learned a lot from him.
Do you think there'll ever be a day when you'll write a drama about this that we're in now, the coronavirus?
Oh yeah, interesting, isn't it? I don't even know what the way in would be. It's
or the way out.
Well, exactly. I know. And do you tell it as a story about the NHS? Is it a political story about the government decisions that they made? Is it about normal people doing what we're all doing in our homes? Is
it maybe a story about how something like this does change our society? I wonder. Yeah, it'll be years yet before you get your teeth into that one.
I think so. But what I think, well, I coming from a theatre background, the thing I'm not worried about. Given that obviously all the theatres are closed in the world, and we're returning to, I think we're downloading box sets in their thousands. People kept saying, "Oh, will this condition sort of kill off public gatherings in terms of sports and theatres and things?" I don't think it will. I think it will make us, as soon as we leave and emerge into the light, I think we'll have such a thirst for being together in public ways and collectively experiencing art and drama and films and sport again. So I'm hoping it might revitalise actually the arts industries and remind people why it's good to be together and experience things together.
I think so. I'd love to go to the theatre again. We all, I mean, we'd love it because it's an event.
Oh yeah, football and cricket and things like that. It's agonising, but of course it's nothing like a priority at the moment. I appreciate that. Just going back to the quiz itself, is there anything you would say to Chris Tarrant about it? And, you know, because he was totally unaware on the night. Do you think it should have been more obvious to him, or what do you think?
No, it makes total sense to me that why he's when actually we have a scene with Michael Sheen in the courtroom in tonight's episode of the show, and he talks through what it's like to present the show, and it just makes me so in awe and so impressed by what Chris did, because unlike other hosts on game shows, he wasn't hooked up to the show talkback, is it? And because so he's completely alone in that chair, and he's just having a conversation with the person in front of him. And so I think to manage that, I don't think he would be listening out for any signals. And also, as we reveal tonight in the show, there were over 192 coughs picked up on the audio throughout the night. So people are just coughing all of the time, and they found 19 coughs, which coincide with the major listing the answers. So I don't know why you would necessarily pick out those 19 if you're Chris. And
if you're hosting a show like that, I mean, it's like what Nick used to call it, being a traffic warden, aren't you? You are totally, or a police warden.
Yeah.
A traffic policeman, that's what I mean.
Yeah. Pointing here.
Yeah, pointing here, pointing there, managing this, deciding when to go to a break, trying to milk the moment, deciding when to move on, looking at the floor manager out of one eye. There's no way you would concentrate enough to hear the odd cough, I don't think.
You've got so much on your plate.
Yeah, no, I'm sure that makes, but you know, it's absolutely true. And we showed in the episode last night that that suspicions did start to go around the production crew quite early on. And by the time, that's why they called Paul Smith to the studio before the £1 million question. And we showed this moment with them, which is completely true. There's a man responsible for tipping the glitter.
Yes, Mr. Glitter, yeah.
Yes,
that was lovely.
That's a fun fact we found out, because the Major did so badly in the previous night's performance, nobody prepared any £1 million glitter, because they just thought he wouldn't get to the last question. So they had to run around and find him, and so that shows you why I think people were so suspicious, because his behaviour. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. It was an odd way to play the game. I can reveal we have a really fun dance sequence in tonight's show, where Matthew and Sean and Michael Sheen don some top hat and tails and dance on the Millionaire set. It's like sort of like a dream sequence.
Well, really looking forward to watching it, James. It's been lovely to talk to you. It really has.
I'm really glad you're enjoying the show. Thank you for inviting me.
We really are. It's absolutely brilliant. And, you know, more power to your elbow. We look forward to the next masterpiece.
Yeah.
Lovely to talk to you.
Thank you.
You too. Thanks. Take care.
All the best. Stay safe. Bye-bye.
Bye. It's funny, isn't it, that the production company that made it managed to sell to ITV being in court. You know, it's an ITV embarrassment in a way.
Yes.
ITV have completely, they've seen the value of the drama.
Well, I was going to say, ITV are not stupid. They can see what a good story it is. And it is, isn't it? And we know the result, but we still find it absolutely riveting,
I
captivating.
still want to watch it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, it's been nice chatting, hasn't it?
It has, and it's funny. You were saying this is an event tonight, sitting down in front of the telly and watching it, and you don't get many of those, except maybe or something. So I'm off to make something to eat, and then I'm going to sit down and enjoy the event. Yeah,
and I'm going to finish my gin and tonic. Great talking to you, Annie. Look after yourself.
Absolutely. Till the next time, my dear.
Till the next time. See you. Let's switch off. Bye-bye.
Bye.